Good evening and welcome to the Finance Subcommittee meeting of the Brockton School Committee. Today is Tuesday, March 8th, 2022, and it's a little after 7. We are starting the meeting at 7:17 this evening. I'm going to take a roll call to establish a quorum. Mr. Homer?
Here.
Mrs. Mendez?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
I'm here. Joyce Asak. Mr. Tim Sullivan?
Here.
And Mayor Sullivan.
Yes, here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. First item on our agenda is the Community Schools Driver Education Program proposed rate changes.
All right, so I'm going to introduce, she's on Zoom with us, is Soraya DeBarros, the Director of Community Schools, and she'll present the recommended changes that she is recommending for driver's education. So thank you, Soraya, for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here tonight. Accompanying me is Mr. Paul Branco, who is one of the program supervisors, and he's also a seasoned instructor for the program. So we had sent the packet that I know you have in hand, and we also sent the proposal. And the bottom line is that for more than 10 years, and notwithstanding all of the increases in the cost of living and of services in general, the fee for our driver education program has remained the same. So right now we have $250 for the classroom portion, and that's 30 hours, and $340 for the on-the-road driving. So that's the driving that they do with a qualified instructor, so one of our instructors. So the total for the package is $590. However, surrounding towns, they charge an average of $850, almost $300 more than what we charge. And like I said, I just want to highlight that we've had this rate for more than 10 years. I've been in community schools for a bit over 2 years, and we have never raised a penny. Everything has remained the same. And as you know, we value this program. We have enjoyed working with families. We have achieved some great results. But at this point, it's necessary to adjust our driver education rates in order to keep pace with our own operating costs. And those have increased over time because we also work with our teachers. The certified instructors are our teachers, BPS teachers. And so we have to pay them according to the contract. So it has become very hard, to make a profit out of this. At this point, we're not making much of a profit. So that's the reason why we're coming here to ask for this modest increase. Again, keeping in mind that we have not done this for 10 years. And I have Paul Branco here with me as well. Paul, is there something that you would like to add? You're on mute.
Thank you. Pretty much well said. It is way over 10 years because I've been with the program 12 to 14 years, and when I came into the program was the same price, has not been increased, and it is $590. The $605 kind of throws you off because that $15 is a registry fee, which is a certificate fee, and it is a much needed increase. As Dr. DeBarros said, the teachers get paid the contract rate, and if you do the math, we're just not making it or barely making it. So it is needed. It is needed. So the floor is yours. Go for it.
And I just want to jump in. When they mean by profit, it's not money that we're putting in the bank to save for something else. It's basically, when you talk about profit, it's money to basically sustain it and then obviously have the cars fixed, buy new cars when they're needed, and we've had to do that I think we did new cars about 5 years ago. I think we were still using the Dodge Reliant K cars for a while. That's what I learned, Mayor, to drive in, because I went through this driving the Brockton Public Schools drive.
I was a Chevy Nova, I think.
Oh, nice. That's even nice. I had the Dodge Reliant K.
I had the Ford Taurus. It was brand new on Friday the 13th when I took my driving class.
So, so basically, it's like when you hear profits, like, oh, okay, what are you doing with a profit? It's just, the money has to go right back into community schools programs. So basically, it goes right back into the driver's ed program. Again, upgrading the cars, making sure that we're fixing them, we're new tires, all the stuff that goes into maintaining. How many cars do we have, Soraya? 3 or 4?
Right now, we have 4.
4.
3.5. 3.5.
3.5. Yeah,
We-
one is on its
Three-
last
one-
leg.
one is actually,
struggling.
we just,
Yeah.
sorry,
It's a
we just
Yugo that
use
we gotta
one
get rid of.
locally. Can you hear us?
We
I'm
can hear
done.
you.
Sorry.
Soraya, you have the floor.
No, I was just saying, like Paul said, it's 3.5 because one is dying on us. So we'll be ready to buy new cars very soon. We need new cars.
Yeah, the Ford Focus, basically the transmission is going. We've been, Lynch has told us it's not worth fixing it. The car is 2010 or 2012, and it's just barely hanging. So we just keep it very local, very close to the high school if we have to use it.
So you have the table with the proposed rate changes, and as you can see, what we're proposing is not much. We understand that this will make a difference for the people who will be paying. However, like we said, it's about making sure that the program is sustainable. So if you look at the current changes on the chart that we had shared with you, you can see the current prices and that what we're proposing. So the current prices right now are at 590, so we're just trying to get it to 700. So not much at all. And if students, again, we're honoring the honor roll. If students are on honor roll, we also do the discount of $50. So that's why you see 540 on that table, because we want our students to be on honor roll. And we're open for questions.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Mayor?
Dr. DeBarros, this is Bob. I support this. My question is relative to the $50 discount. Could you just explain to the committee, is it the honor roll during the semester that the person is taking, that the boy or girl is taking the actual driver's ed course? How does that work? Or is it for the end of the year? Could you just explain that a little bit more?
It's by the quarter. So if they're registering now, they will give us their last report card. And if they don't have it in hand, usually we ask for them to upload and everything else. But if they don't have it in hand, we can always go into Infinite Campus and print it for them. But as long as they have the last report card in hand, we will accept it.
Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome.
Anyone else with any questions or comments? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, Soraya, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
When I went to driving school, if you graduated, you got a discount on your insurance. Is that still in effect now?
Yes. And Paul, can you speak more about that, about the
sorry.
discount that they get whenever they do driving school through us, the discount on insurance?
If you take driver's ed, your compulsory insurance will be about 15 to 20% less each year. Overall, that's for a 5-year period. Overall, that the discount that they get for the compulsory insurance is a lot more than the $500-700 that they will be paying for driver's ed. Also, without driver's ed, they cannot go for their license unless they're 18 years of age in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, I didn't know
If
that.
they do not take driver's ed, they must wait until they're 18 years old.
Thank you.
Do we have, Soraya, do we have anything that we can help the students that have a financial hardship? I mean, I know a lot of them were having a hard time with the
Yes,
cost of driver's ed. So,
That's a very good question. Thank you for asking. We have 2 programs. One, we have a sponsorship through the office, through the community schools office, that we can give to students that are in need. And number two, we have also been working with the homeless liaison, Gloria Rubilar, at the high school. And we got some money from the Title I office through a grant that allows for at least 10 students to have the whole package for free. So right now we have 6 students who are taking the program, and we're waiting for the other 4 to sign up.
Thank you. So at least there is something for those that are experiencing a hardship, financial hardship. I know a lot of students, that's their biggest concern is the cost, and a lot of them are working and paying for it themselves if they don't have that financial support. So thank you for giving that information. Again, we haven't had an increase in 10 years, and and we're still competitive at this price point. Or are we going to just be matching those surrounding towns with the same pricing, with the increase?
No, it's going to be still about $100 below.
We're still under,
I'm sorry.
we're still less than the surrounding towns as far as what we're charging.
And the private schools too.
Okay. I mean, it's still competitive in price.
The good thing about the program is that it's held at Brockton High School. It is immediately after school. Kids are out at 2. At 2:20, they're in the cafeteria. They must go upstairs with the instructor, and in class by 2:30 to 4:30. Around 4:20, we start wrapping up because, as I always say, this is a registry of motor vehicles class. This is not a Brockton High School class. So the registry has their eyes on everything. They know when the student is in the car, in the classroom, who the student is with, what time, if they're observing in the back seat. The registry needs to know all this. All this information needs to be turned into the registry just about every night. When they're done with their drives, and then for the certificate, that has to be in there. If there are any fees that need to be paid, the registry knows not to move forward on this kid. And many kids do question me. Every night I get the same question. Why can I not set a road test appointment if I'm done with everything? Well, you missed a mod, or you missed a parent class, or you missed a fee. Something is there. So the registry knows everything. The registry will not open up the portal for them to set up a road test. So everything's got to be turned in with the registry of motor vehicles. And it's good for our kids because it's there. They don't have to leave the building. As soon as they're done with school, 20 minutes later, they're right back into a classroom. And it's right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Another thing as well is that we are audited every year. And thank goodness things have been good. The audit has come, the response has been very positive. The feedback has been positive. And we just purchased a new software a couple of months ago. So right now we're in transition. And that software will help us a lot with understanding what Mr. Branco just described. Who's in the car, how many minutes they spent in the car. And then there's a survey right after that the teacher will have to take to say how well the student did while driving. So everything is, we're paying attention to everything that we can change. We're updating the software, which was not updated for years as well. So we're doing all of that, making sure that we have enough instructors. We have come up with also a training point for certified teachers or BPS staff who would like to be instructors, because we're in need of licensed instructors. So that has been done as well. So we have our BPS staff training for free. And then hopefully whenever they get their license, they can come back and work with us because the need is there, the demand is there. We just don't have enough teachers, enough licensed teachers. And I even asked the state, I asked if we could have, for example, myself, one of the teachers or a BPS teacher just go into the classroom. No, we cannot, because we have to be licensed instructors, driver instructors. So, so now we have people training with us to become instructors, and they're doing that for free. So within this small program, we've done some great things, and but we need the help when it comes to the pricing. We need to raise the rates to make a difference.
Thank you. Quick question. How many students on average in each class? Because I know there's usually a wait list of some sorts.
There is a wait list. And the classes are full right now, and we just opened for the next one, which is starting on February 28th. We only have 5 seats available. Paul, do you want to say something?
The only time that the numbers are low for the class is around the holidays. Just before Christmas and right after Christmas, usually the numbers are around 15, 18, 20, maybe, 12 to 15, 12 to 20. But usually during the school year, we've had a class that was 50 or 54 students in a class. And that was, a large group for one person to be teaching a class, because the class itself is a 1 on 25, as opposed to the driving is 1 on 1. That's where all the cost is in the driving proportion of the whole amount of money. So during the school, we have a very good number, 35, 33, 38, 40, anywhere between 30 to 40. That is the average around during the school year. It's just the holidays it's slower, because most of these kids, they pay for these lessons themselves. Very few kids the parents pay for, because that's as some of you know me, I can't stop talking. I'm always talking, and the conversation is going on in the car, and the kids open up, and that's So did you get help for these classes? No, I'm paying this for myself. I'm working at Wendy's. I'm working at McDonald's. So these kids, most of these kids, I'd say about 80 to 90%, they pay for these lessons themselves, for these classes.
Thank you. Anyone else with any questions or comments? Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Joyce. You asked all the questions that I wanted. So I think you zoomed in on my notepad here. But one thing is that I want to ask, how are we with students that have handicaps in the school, any limited abilities? Are they actually participating? How are we addressing that? And also like our bilingual students too as well, multilingual.
You got Jared's question.
The bilingual students, actually, we just had a case this past month of a bilingual students who just arrived here in the U.S. But luckily, we have people in the program. We have instructors. We have Paul Branco, who speaks Portuguese, and we have Agnello Montran, who also speaks Portuguese. And the student happened to speak Portuguese, so that worked out well. The only problem that we are going to have, not now, later on, but we are going to be hiring someone from BPS to be there, is whenever that student needs to take the final exam. So that's something that we were just faced with less than a month ago, that we will work on. When it comes to the students that are handicapped, Paul, you can speak more about that. Have we had that in the past? I'm not sure.
Well, I had a kid just this Friday, I think, Thursday or Friday. He was autistic, and it was a one-on-one. It was tough, but I kept him calm and everything, and I asked him to stop, doing certain things, and he was calm. He was able to control himself. But I had a girl several years ago where one hand was just basically the thumb and 2 fingers, and she was able to, she was allowed to use a knob on a wheel to make the turn, that's something that's illegal. But since she was handicapped, she was allowed to use the knob. There was also another one that she was partially blind of her right eye. I didn't have a chance to drive with her, but there were some comments from the instructors, and I did bring the question up to the Registry of Motor Vehicles. How can we allow the student to do the backing up using mirrors? And the examiners couldn't answer that question. Basically, their answer was, we'll just have to wait until we get to that point. And I pushed for an answer, but I didn't get any response from Boston. So I'm not sure what happened, because I never had a chance to drive with that student. So I'm not sure what happened at that point.
Thank you. I know you mentioned, our vehicles are old, but on the subject of handicap, do we have vehicles that, let's say somebody in a wheelchair, because we have people that they have retrofitted vehicles for that. Do we have that, if we have a student in a wheelchair, are we able to provide that service for that student?
We don't have that yet, but it's something that we can look into for sure.
I think we'll have to look into that when we buy the new vehicle. It's a good point.
Chris, why don't we put that in the ESSER 3 matters, all right? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Chris, we also need a few more cars.
Excuse me.
See the sweat coming down right there.
So, I mean, on a personal note, I took driver's ed at Brockton High, so it was wonderful. Right after classes, we went. They had we took our classes, and then I even used the vehicle from the high school to go take my test with Mr. Clarity.
Joe Clarity, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great resource for our students to be able to have that accessible at our school. So thank you so much for the presentation. Any other questions, comments? So do they need a motion this evening?
They, and our kids, when they go to the Brockton Registry, actually take the driving test to get their license.
Oh.
We did check that.
All right. So do they need a motion this evening, Superintendent, or are we?
I think, yeah, you have to approve it.
So just approve the rates as posted on this, the document that we have, as presented. So can I get a motion to approve the proposed rate changes as presented? Mr. Homer, you want to give us that motion?
Sure. Motion to approve proposed rate changes as presented.
For 2022 changes.
2022,
Thank you.
yes.
Can we get a second?
Second.
So it was properly, a motion was properly made by Mr. Homer and seconded by Mr. Sullivan. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you so much for the presentation. All right,
Thank you for having us.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. So item number 2 on the agenda is ESSER 3. And is it, Mr. Correa is going to?
I'll start, and then
Sure.
I can ask Sue and Chris to jump in. As you know, FY22, we have the American Rescue Plan Act that was put forward and passed by the federal government, so it's called ESSER 3. So we had a budget, and which is great, that can be spent until June of 2024. It's, one-time money of $34 million. And just to go over a few key points about ESSER 3, when we have to submit a plan similar to what we're going to go through to the Department of Education. 20% of the $34 million has to be implemented and spent on instruction, accelerated learning, evidence-based interventions. We have to respond to students' social, emotional, and academic needs, especially from the slide of COVID and the loss of learning. We have to focus on the underrepresented student groups, low-income students, children with disabilities, our English language learners, our students of color, students experiencing homelessness, and then students in foster care as well. And again, this is really driven by providing students with opportunities academically as far as acceleration in around social emotional learning. This is about summer learning, after school programs. That is all part of this. So, I'll start to go through, and again, we can jump in. Again, this is one-time money, so we want to try to refrain from hiring a lot of personnel out of this money because it will be gone. And we want to make sure we put things in place that are going to be here in the school system for several years to come, and things that we don't have to lay off and when the money is gone in 2024. So, as you know, we were hitting the district review. We talked about it earlier, is the real need for curriculum. And what has happened over the years is when we went through those years where we had to cut over $68 million through those lean years, and you were part of cutting that. We had $12 million deficits, $16 million deficits, and we were just trying to survive. And obviously the most important thing was to save classroom teachers. and focus on the classroom. And that means we eliminated technology, we eliminated curriculum. So the district for years, and as you've heard it from parents, students, geez, I have a history book that's 45 years old, 30 years old. So, the reason why is we had to continue to cut to protect jobs. So you'll see this is really heavy in curriculum. So as we'll go through, and again, Sue's here to answer any questions, but we have vetted this out with, our Office of Teaching and Learning and our principals, associate principals, executive directors. So we're proposing $6.3 million to be spent on curriculum, and I'm going to highlight a couple of areas, and this is very important, is the K-5 literacy curriculum. And that's, that is right now close to just over $3 million. The curriculum we're using now is not highly rated. It's been recommended greatly by the Department of Education that we adopt a new English curriculum at the elementary level. It's very costly. We would not be able to do that in our regular budget. So fortunately, with these ESSER 3 funds, we're able to buy a new, and again, this is curriculum, and what's different now is when selecting curriculum, when you see the curriculum here, it's about equity, diversity, inclusion. This is curriculum that will be piloted, will be vetted through the curate process, through high-quality instructional materials. They have a whole department at the Department of Education that you go through a process. They have approved curriculum, but then after they approve it, it goes through the curate process. We then have to vet it as well. And again, that makes sure it's free of bias, that it can be used with all our learners, English language learners, and our students with disabilities. So Sue can answer any questions with that, but you can see that throughout this, the vetting process will involve obviously Office of Teaching and Learning, teachers, principals, associate principals, the coordinators, and the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion to make sure that the curriculum's vetted. But as you can see, it's a lot of money in curriculum, but this just reflects the years and years and years that we were stuck with the same curriculum because we just didn't have the money to buy new. And teachers were, to their credit, was finding their own for years, either through Pinterest or Google, and teachers have been very creative, but it's time for us to really give our educators the tools they need to do their job, just like we would have to do with anybody that has to work in a craft that needs effective materials, and we have to do that for our teachers as well.
That's a very good point, Superintendent. Mr. Sullivan and I have been on the committee a little longer than the other members, and we were cutting so many programs, our teachers were getting creative because we had to cut so many programs. I think it was a science program. There was one program, and it was sad, but we had to do what we had to do to keep our teachers in our classrooms. So seeing these, and we just had our curriculum subcommittee, it's time that we get this and we give our teachers the tools that they need to help our students achieve the level that, they deserve the best. So, and again, Mr. Sullivan and I, major budget cuts. So to see this is kind of surreal,
Yep.
See these numbers, see what we're able to do right now. It's I don't know how to explain it, but there were nights we'd leave our school committee meetings and you can't sleep, and I'm going to get choked up, but because we were cutting so much. And how do you expect a teacher to provide a service to our staff, to the students, when we can't give them the tools that they need? So, it's time. It's time that we give them what they need to help our students. So, anyone have any questions or comments? Mr. Tim Sullivan, and then Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, the last curriculum meeting we had, which was only a week ago, we had Cedric Turner do a big presentation and how successful that program was. But it was only a few years ago when we were talking about cutting that program. We didn't have the money.
Right. Yeah, it was on the list, I remember.
Yeah, it was on the list, and just by the grace of God, it was saved at the very, very end. I forget how the money came, it was only a short amount of money, but it came at the end. But Cedric Turner and his whole program was heading out the door.
Well, I don't think we were going to cut it, but I think we were looking for other ways of finding funding. Because
Yeah.
it's such a wonderful program, the Empower Yourself.
Yeah, but it was on the list.
Yeah, it was on the list. I mean, that was 50,000, and that's a teaching position.
on
And
the list.
it was tough. We were looking for other ways to fund it, because so many of our students, I mean, we have some amazing companies that the students go to, which is very impressive. But,
know.
no, we have a lot of great programs. Mayor, you have the
Yeah,
floor.
yeah. No, I want to thank Mike, I want to thank Chris, and I want to thank Aldo. They've been working with my CFO on the city side, Troy Clarkson, and myself, since ESSER was generated for the city of Brockton. I mean, $34 million is a game changer for us. It's historic. On the school side, the city side, we're getting $34 million as well, 17 and 17. So, you know, we are spending it wisely. I want everybody that's watching this to know that. You know, both Mike and I share the same thing. We wanted to get the biggest bang for the buck, and Dr. Zakowitz is sharing the same sentiment. But we also know that we have to spend it in a manner that's going to be the most productive manner, because it is $34 million. We're not going to get another $34 million on top of that. So, I mean, I support this endeavor. I know there's always nuances when you're talking about spending capital projects. One thing I shared with Mike today, I'd like to see if we could be creative and at least renovate the exterior of the Little Red Schoolhouse. I mean, it's in deplorable condition. So between either ESSER or ARPA, we're going to figure that out, but that's a pledge that Mike and I have shared. Todd Petty, former council, if you're watching, know that it's going to happen, because you call Mike and I on a regular basis, and we thank you for that. But the biggest thing is, this is helping the students, number one, and the staff, and it's long overdue. But I do want to thank the federal delegation, Congressman Lynch and both Senators Markey and Warren, because we wouldn't be talking about this without their public service. So thank you.
So I just want to point out, so when you talk about the 20%, that's the curriculum piece, 6.3 million. Then if you turn the page, you look at contract services, and this again is for, so you're basically now 9.1 million, 9.2, and that's all towards students recovering from accelerated learning. Obviously, it's curriculum, and I'll go over quick. Some of these is, you know, summer programs for our teachers and administrators. It's actually professional development, focusing on effective instruction. Giving high-quality feedback for educators and teachers, that's professional development. We have early college, which is a big goal. It's $500,000 towards early college. That would be towards tuition for our high school students in grades 11 and 12 to start taking early college classes. It's not about dual enrollment, it's about early college, so they could be graduated with either 30 up to 60 credits of college credit. So that's a huge goal of the system. I know it's of the school committee. It's a goal of DESE, but we needed to put that money in here. So that's huge for our families to graduate from high school with their child having 30 to 60 credits towards a college degree. And then you can see there's writing and literacy PD, the ESL to certificate program, and then you look at what we're doing with our special education department, so students with disabilities, social emotional support, that's almost 1.8 million to support our students with disabilities. And then obviously around student support services and EDI is the restorative justice. Continue to look at our discipline model and get our teachers the training to look at more restorative practices. So those first 2 pages are really focused on, obviously, student achievement and equity across the district for all of our students. And then the next page is capital. And again, this is things that need to be done in the district. And when you get one-time money for this, people talk about how old our facilities are. I think we do a great job maintaining our facilities for their age. But if you look at capital and it's all investment, as you see the 71 buses are here, what's needed to run the buses, you see the modular classrooms, because we're having space issues. And just other things that the district, a couple other big things to highlight. a generator at South and Brookfield, two schools that lose power often. And, you know, instead of missing student learning time is to have generators. And there's a plan to do this throughout the district if ever any more money comes in. But those are the two schools that lose power most often, and we wanted to get full generators there. So they're up and running. If you see, like, an example like the Plouffe, one of the air conditioning units is down, so a chiller is very expensive. That has to be done. And then, you know, we need, again, to continue to add to our laptops, so 5,500 laptops for $2 million. And then the security protection system is something we're piloting now. It's a clock system, it's an emergency alert system, and it's a system that would be in every classroom, every office. It's wireless. I actually saw it at a new school I went to in Worcester this last Friday. I had to go to Worcester for a meeting, and there's a brand-new school, and they have the same system. Right now, if you look at every clock in the district, none of them are the same, if they're working. They're right twice a year, you know, spring forward, fall back. That's when we know they're exactly, you know, so the issue is, you know, and being able to then put messages through, because a lot of instead of spending, we probably would, right now, would have to spend about $10 million on replacing our clock systems and our intercom systems. That's how antiquated they're becoming. And, you know, it's getting to the point where we have to find something, because we just can't keep, the parts are not there. I mean, we're trying to hold on to systems like at West, East, North, and South. They are the original intercom systems in the building. We know how important intercoms are for safety and security. So as you see, when you say, wow, 1.4 million, that would encompass all of that. The intercom, the emergency alert system, and also a time so people know it's right. And I could send a message to every classroom from my office. And principals could do that in their building, and Central could do that throughout the whole school system. So that's in there as well. So again, this is something that you see a lot in capital, you know, almost 20 million, but we have to, we got to put money where it's going to last for 15 to 20 years. That's why you don't, again, personnel, you put that in your regular budget because it's regular and reoccurring. This one-time money that's going to route out on June 24th, if you spend 3, 4, 5 million on personnel, unfortunately, you're going to be laying those people off in 2024 when the next school year starts. So, and again, Chris is here, who's been doing a great job filling in for Aldo. Aldo is feeling better. He still has a way to go before he gets back to work, but you know, he's always very active, so he's helping us a lot. Physically, he can't be active, but mentally, he's very active, and he's spending a lot of time helping us out. But Chris has done a fantastic job filling in for him, and I want to thank him for all the work he's put into this. He's worked closely with Sue. He's worked closely with our executive team. He worked closely with Dr. Murray. Had worked on this with Chris as well, but a lot of work from the bilingual department, Sharon, and the special education department, and also around social emotional learning. They spent a lot of time putting this together. Money can be moved, so once we get this approved and into DESE, money can be moved around. So if we have until 2024. So if we see something, or if some of these things come up not as expensive, so we kind of went on the higher end. So if the curriculum for K to 5 is 2.6 million instead of 3 million, then we are allowed as a committee, you are allowed to move that 400,000 somewhere else. So that's where we are. So anybody else can answer questions. All right. So feel free to.
Any of the members have any questions or comments? Mr. Sullivan, and then Mr. Rodriguez.
Just, does this total to the 34 million?
Yes. Yeah, so it comes to the end, as you see the highlighted parts on the bottom. And at the end, it's exactly, my last page I didn't cover. So if you look at the community allies we added, that was put into this, because again, so we didn't have in the local budget. Accelerated, this is another thing, support services for accelerated learning programs. That's all the after-school programs, summer programs, and vacation schools, all those things are put in there. So we don't have to take that out of the local budget this year. And then we're allowed to put custodians under this as well. So Chris, you want to explain that piece? So we're clicking about, just about the personnel piece. I turned that off. I think you might have to turn it on. Oh yeah, you can sit down.
Yeah, so the custodian piece, obviously they're involved in cleaning our facilities. So we're allowed to take some of those custodial salaries and put it in the ESSER budget.
And so the reason we're doing that, as you know, when we get into the regular budget, we're down 754 students, which is a loss of $12 million. So instead of getting $24 million in Student Opportunity Act money, this year we're getting 12. We were hoping for the 22. Unfortunately, we're down 754. So we had to move some stuff around so we can, when we come to you next week with starting to work on building our budget, we didn't want to come to you with a deficit. We wanted to make sure we come to you with a balanced budget.
Correct. Yep. So the custodians act as a budget factor. So I take a piece out of our existing local budget and use the ESSER to balance it out.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone with any questions or comments?
Just one question.
Oh, sure, Mr. Sullivan.
Chris, when the 34 million runs out, what happens to those custodians? Are they going to be laid off?
No, they're still built in the budget. So they're part of the existing budget. I just use the custodial staff as a budget factor to balance out the local budget.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Yep.
And I see our 71 buses we're good
Ready
to
to
go.
roll.
Do we ever projected as to when they'll be
should-
ready?
Yeah.
Go
They
ahead.
should be delivery in July,
Perfect.
mid-July.
And we have plenty of room at the current location?
We're working on that.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Again, we got our buses, we're getting
We
there.
are working, Mayor and I, we're working on a location that will be
All right.
hopefully much more.
We took a field trip today, Mike and I.
Yeah. So hopefully we can,
That's all I'll say.
Okay.
We did
Thank
a lot
you.
of walking and talking today, so
Yeah.
that was
I'm
good.
sure we'll find out soon.
Yes.
So no, it looks like they covered you covered a lot. So again, it's nice to know that if there is a if you overestimated, then we can move that money around.
yeah,
if
and we can move
needed
it, we can move it around pretty much anytime you want to. We're getting this into the state because it has to be in within a week.
So yeah, I'll be working on the workbook throughout the weekend to get it submitted to DESE next week. And also, I just want to reiterate what Mike said. This was a collaborative effort for the whole district. So I met with all the departments, and so we all worked together to build this. So it wasn't only me. It was definitely.
Oh, no, absolutely.
It was
Yep.
the entire district. So.
No, thank you. We appreciate all the hard work that's gone into getting this ready. And then, how long will it take for DESE to let us know if once this is all approved? Like, what is the turnaround time for them to approve what we submit to them?
Roughly maybe a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Should be first
That's
week of
quick.
April.
Sure. Okay. Perfect. And that'll help us because we're going to have our strategic plan finalized in April. So that'll help us know what we have. All right. Any questions? Mrs. Mendez and Mr. Rodriguez. I apologize. Did I forget you, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yeah, you skipped them.
I did. Thanks, Mike.
My question's similar to Mr. Sullivan's, but in regards to curriculum and professional development. So once the funds run out, what is it, in 2 years, right? About 2
24.
years?
24.
What happens to keep these things be sustainable? Because some of them are like things, but if we want to keep the curriculum updated and a lot of what we've been talking about, access and equitable.
So the good news is this is the heavy cost, like that big, huge upfront cost that it takes to adopt a new curriculum. And then once we get this, then the upgrades are going to be a lot less expensive. And then the so we would have to build that in the professional development into our regular budget.
Okay. Yeah, that was my follow-up question. Like, how can we build it up in our budget when we don't have these funds?
Right. So hopefully that's, what we're going to do, and I know Jess will come to another committee meeting about that, is what we're going to do about getting our enrollment back up. Because that's got to be a high priority for us. We can't continue to lose students. So Marcia, Andrade, Serpa, Jess are spending a lot of time with the students who trying to find out, where the 754 students went. We know that we lost a good chunk to private schools because people wanted last year when we were remote and hybrid, a lot of parents wanted their kids in school. So they ended up going to, private schools. We've lost some kids to the virtual schools. We've lost kids to charter. But we also from the feedback we're getting, and this is, it's not good that we're losing people, but the house prices in Brockton are in a good place right now. So people's home values are high. So a lot of, unfortunately, that has had, families move further away from Boston because rents and the prices of homes in Brockton have gone up. That's a good thing about people's value that have gone up, but unfortunately it has driven some people that are less fortunate out of the city, and that has caused our enrollment to go down as well. And, you can look at that a couple different ways, but it's good that home values are up because it's a good sign for the city. But again, it is people that are less fortunate are moving further away from Boston. Fall River, New Bedford, their enrollments have stayed pretty much level. They haven't lost that many. And they're gaining a lot of people that, again, moving further away from Boston. So we really have to focus on, like Cynthia is getting, how we can sustain this is by 2024, we got to get those 750 students back and more. We have to get back towards that 17,000 number, which we were at about 5 years ago, and we're now down at 15,000. So
You mentioned the virtual school. Isn't the virtual school in district?
yeah, well, we were able to keep 400 students.
Okay.
But there's another at least 250 that are left to other K-12 virtual schools, and they did that last year when we didn't have ours.
Okay.
So I think you approving a virtual school has helped keep a lot of kids in district, because I think we would be close to 1,000 kids down if we didn't open that virtual school. So we're hoping now that we've had a year of the virtual school. It's been a tough year because it's new. I hope now that when we're able to grow it and go beyond the 400, and that hopefully will bring more kids back. But a lot of students last year, when we didn't have it, joined a full, like those K-12 schools that you see on TV.
Okay.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you. Did we look at our vocational program and actually put money into there or growing it? And then also, with these funds as far as facilities, and what I'm going to ask with the turf fields, if we can look at that.
Yeah.
or-
So, Mayor, how can,
That's a
is
different
there a
topic.
way we can get in front of the council? Because I know there is a bond for some turf, and then how we can maybe work together with ESSER money to, because the goal with us is to, especially the 4 old Compass junior highs, to kind of turf those fields. So I don't know if we could,
I mean, we would just have the ward councils or the at-large do a resolve to invite us to appear before the council. Simple thing.
okay, good.
I'll reach out to Jack Lally, the council president, tomorrow.
So if we could kind of leverage both sides to look at turf fields.
The ESSER funds?
ESSER funds, yeah, and I think, but there is also a bond already,
There is a
correct?
bond. Moses
Yeah.
Rodriguez had a bond. Yeah, I
Right.
voted for it when I was on the council.
And that's still active, open?
Yes, yes.
So if
So
we
we'll do
could,
that. I'll have the president, I don't know which ward councilors, but they'll all sponsor.
yeah,
it,
if we can
so-
get in sometime the end of this month, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think the 21st they meet as a finance, so
All right, good.
I think
So
that's
we'll
it.
root for the 21st.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. I think that's it for me, if anybody had any other.
Any other
Questions,
questions, comments? Doesn't look like we have anything. I think we're good. Okay, so we're going to move on to item
So
number,
we will need a vote on this
oh, we do, okay.
to approve as presented.
So we can submit it to Desi.
So we can submit it to Desi.
So you wanted a motion to approve the ESER 3 budget as
Presented.
presented,
For the total amount of,
34 million,
right at the last page,
$46,089.
$39.
Correct.
Okay, who would like to make a motion?
Motion to approve the proposal of the ESER 3 budget of $34,046,089.
Second?
Okay, so a motion's been made by Mrs. Mendez and properly seconded by Mr. Sullivan. All in favor?
I think, Madam Chair,
Oh,
I
sorry.
think because it's going to be submitted, we should do a roll
Do
call
a roll call?
vote.
Okay,
Yeah, so
sure.
the minutes will reflect it, and we can get it to Desi.
Sure. I'll do a roll call vote. Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Homer?
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So that is unanimous. All right. So now we can go on to agenda item number 3, other business. Do we have any other business?
No, other than next week before the school committee meeting, we'll be presenting the first, the budget for our regular budget under Chapter 70. And, we continue to work closely with the mayor, Troy, and Chris, and so we'll be presented that. And, we also have to consider in that budget that, we're in the middle, we have negotiations with the BEA, with the Teamsters, with the union that represents the MTA and our paras, so those are all coming up. So we have to obviously allow for that, for those raises in the budget coming up because we have 3-year contracts that, last year, you guys did a great job settling the extension, so we didn't have to go through negotiations during the pandemic, so we were able to extend. I know you did settle with school police, which are the Teamsters, but I know that the custodians, part of the Teamsters, have to be settled. We'll be doing a contract for our bus drivers who are Teamsters as well, so that will be a new contract. Again, we're coming to the end of the negotiations with the BEA, and we obviously have our paras and our MTAs as well. So, and I think food service maybe is up too.
I believe so.
Okay, so
We
yeah.
have quite a few.
So we'll make sure that's, when we're building our budget, we have to take that all into consideration.
Perfect. So that's it. So we don't have anything else under other business that anyone would like to present? Oh, Mayor?
Just, point of
Sure.
information. So we have our retreat on Saturday
Yes.
at West Middle School. I am coaching playoff 4th grade at East Middle School. So I will be there. We haven't won a game, but the playoffs a new season, right, Mr. Rodriguez? Great kids on that team. But I'm the assistant coach. My wife is the head coach. If I was the head coach, maybe we'd have a different record. I don't know. It's a debate in my household right now. But she did play college basketball,
Pick
and I
and
didn't.
roll. Just keep running
yeah,
the
that's
pick and
all.
roll.
That's all. But I will be there at 8:30. I will leave to go coach, and then I'll come back. Just wanted you
Thank
to know
you.
that.
Nope, thank you. So that is a reminder that we will have our retreat this Saturday.
We're at
and-
West.
We're at West. 8:30. And
8:30
then-
is breakfast? 8 to 8:30 is breakfast, and then 8:30 we will start with the agenda till noontime.
Perfect. Mr. Rodriguez?
Mike, do we want to look at a date for the athletics, arts, and
Yes, Melinda,
sub?
we were targeting, she,
Alrighty, we're all set.
yeah, we just was talking about that this morning. We got to get that subcommittee on.
We also need a subcommittee for the naming rights.
That's
I
on
was just
there
going to
too,
mention
yeah.
that. I know we had requested a date, so
Melinda has all those listed.
so we'll do those. We're actually, I reached out to a lot of the chairs of the subcommittees and asked them to just get their committees going, get some meetings set up, just so we're not, back to back every night with meetings. So we have plenty of time to get things started. So it looks like the chairs are doing a great job. Team effort, we're all doing great. So thank you so much. So nothing else for new business.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All right, unanimous motion. Have a good evening, everybody. Motion to adjourn.